finish work was amazing. We were thoroughly impressed, one, with the attentiveness to detail, and secondly, the commitment to trying to begin a project and staying with the project until its completion. That kind of continuity was very helpful.
It's absolutely clear to me that Scott sets a very high standard for all the people who work with him.
I mean, to have somebody that you trust and that does high quality work, that's hard to find.
Most of my competition don't like my jobs because they're too hard, they're too particular, and we have to give a lot of input when we're in on the job. I'm very involved in the finish process, color choice, everything like that. And so I'm much more hands-on, and I'm much more design-oriented in this business. My schooling in preparation to starting this business was in architectural drafting, and then I also went through the building trades. I was trying to encompass all facets of this business. In many cases, I can bring a design to the table, and so I look at that and I say that's a big plus, because this aspect of it is not feed to the customers. It's we do this as just a part of the service in order to get the work. In a situation where an architect or a designer is involved, they have all the say. My job is to facilitate the architect as well as facilitate the owner. And I say, where's my strength in this? Is that I'm a builder. I provide the level of professionalism, the level of knowledge, the level of expertise that they want me to.
The architect drew up a plan, but then she wanted to make this space that looks towards the sitting area a little friendlier, not such a blank wall, not so solid. And so she dreamed up this concept of having it open underneath. She also had this bar top supported by glass and pillars, and it's a great plan, but Scott took one look at that and said, how the heck do we do this? And spent a lot of time figuring it out, talking to the various subcontractors who would be involved in this process of how to engineer it so it would work. And he did a fabulous job, and in the end it all came together perfectly. So his imagination and design concepts really helps in a project.
The back portion of the kitchen was maybe 6 to 8 feet of kitchen area with a wall dividing the space. It had 1.5 counter spaces, which essentially was very claustrophobic, and you could only get one person in there. So the cooking experience for anybody in the house was one person was cooking and everybody else had to get out.
When Ed and Sandra called me and they wanted me to come and look at this project, they were pretty much under the impression that the kitchen stayed where the kitchen was. And where the kitchen was in that house was in the back corner, crammed into a small space that was probably less than 1/4 of the footprint of the house.
So it was just too tiny. The dining room space was wonderfully large. It was just a very airy space. It was a big room, and we had spoken with 2 other individuals. Scott came in and said, okay, work with me. Let's see how this fits with you in terms of just a first impression. Why don't you flip-flop the whole space? You really want a house that has a great deal of flow. And then after that, Scott came with some plans of what this might look like, kind of a preliminary sense of what we'd be looking at in terms of cost. And we went back and forth, and maybe after the second or third iteration of revamping the plans, we finally came up with this design.
My feeling is that when I look at this, I don't look at just the kitchen. I look at the entire house, how the house flows, where the traffic patterns are in the house, and I design the space for that. And I always encourage people to design the Cadillac of what you want. The design doesn't cost anything in our case. The design is a free. So you're creating this wish list. At that point, when that wish list is developed, we put a price tag to it, and if the price tag's out of range, then we scale back. And we build them probably a nice compromise between the two. Once we get going on the job, I tend to back off a bit, and I get back into the managing end of this, and I let my right and left arm, Smith Cunningham and Tom Tolich, take over. I touch base with the customers at least twice a week at that point. And they've got my phone numbers, Tom's phone number, Smith's phone number. They can get a hold of anyone in the event that there's any concerns or issues.
The kitchen was the biggest job because they had to totally gut it, including taking out a ceiling light. He did all the cabinetry, the fireplace. He ended up carpeting the whole upstairs. It was really pretty extensive, and one thing led to another. When he got done with one room, it looked so nice that the room next to it looked a little bit shabbier. And then we just basically moved through the house, painting, lighting. He really did everything. And what's nice about him is he has a really consistent, reliable crew. So it's been the same people that have worked for him over the years. And I felt really good having him here when I wasn't here. I would just give him a key and let them come and do the work. And I always felt very good about that.
Every single job has its challenge. Mainly because the people are without the space that they're accustomed to. So they're uncomfortable. So we go to great lengths to try to make them comfortable. One of the best ways to do that is through cleanliness. And that is one of our #1 goals.
Because this house is so open, one of our concerns was how to keep all of this construction dust out of the rest of the house. And the first thing they did was to hang huge plastic curtains around the area.
At the end of the day, you have 30 to 45 minutes. They clean up everything so that you basically the rest of the evening, if you're still living in the space, you can still survive in your space and engage in many of the kinds of necessities that you need to do.
The deck was a project which we knew we had to do. It was rotting. It is supported by lamb beams, and they were literally turning into sawdust underneath. One of the reasons we picked the Ipe wood is that it's supposed to last 40 years. We assume that we're not going to be around in 40 years, and one of the things we didn't want to have to do was to redo anything. The flashing on the lamb beams is not only bituthane but also metal flashing, so that the water coming through the deck hits the beams and it doesn't go into the wood at all. Everything that is structural is covered so that the sun doesn't damage it. And so we're hopeful that we can live the next 30 years perhaps here and not have to redo the deck. It will not be an issue again.
At the time they did the kitchen, I had 2 golden retrievers, and he managed to match the floor to the dogs. And you know, and I have 2 teenagers, so they really give the house a workout. You know, what you see now, this has been here for about 6 years, and it hasn't changed at all. I mean, the cabinets still open, the doors slide easily. Everything was done, just the quality was done so well that we just haven't had any problems.
After the job's completed, we do have a protocol. And that protocol is for me to visit the job site and basically walk through with the customer and show them every aspect of this remodel, explain how every switch works, talk to them how to clean and care for any type of surface that's in their new remodel. Once that has taken place, make them aware that we do offer a 2-year warranty. By state law, we're required to do 1 year. We offer an additional year. And we don't put any strings attached to it. If there's any problems with anything, I don't care if it's workmanship or it's faulty components, we'll deal with it.
You get to the tail end of the project, and at all projects, regardless of the contractor, things begin to move slowly just because of the attending to detail. But you begin to get key things in and you realize, wow, this is just going to be an amazing space and it's worth the patience. And now that we're living in it, it's just been wonderful.
It's so much more comfortable and livable, and everything works. And he would come up and change a light bulb for you. You know, if there's something you're not happy with, he comes right up. There's no questions asked, and he takes care of it, which is really nice, which is why we continue to use him.
One of the most thrilling moments, actually, was when the bar top was put on top of the glass. And as soon as the bar top was stable and siliconed into place, the blue tape came off, and the light that came through onto the countertop was just spectacular.
I don't want to be the contractor that gets up every day and says, I know exactly what I'm going to do today because I know that'll make me money. What I want is I want to wake up in the morning, I want to be challenged, I want to be tested, and I want something new introduced to me every day. I want to learn something new every day. I want the difficult remodels. I want the special remodels. I want the ones that everyone else thinks they can't do it for whatever reason. They don't have enough talent, because I really feel like we have such a talent pool in this company, and everyone is getting better every single day. And you know, and that's exciting to me. That makes me charged.